We'll look at the pandemic's impact on local factories. Plus, the city of Miami gets public input on a mask mandate and how the Carthage Crisis Center is keeping a Thanksgiving tradition alive.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, Joplin boys basketball team opens up the season against the McDonald County Mustangs. We've got highlights. And tomorrow is Thanksgiving. For something to talk about, we want to know what your favorite Thanksgiving dish is. Be sure to participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Holding on to a little bit of rain left over from last night, pushing its way to the far eastern portion of southwest Missouri and then still up to the north, right along the state line there, really lasting from about Mound City to Nevada and Butler. Luckily, it has eased off from what we had last night. Don't have the strong winds with what's left either. As we run out to the Freeman Health System sky camera, the raindrops still sticking around, at least on our camera for the time being. 46 degrees, but look at that. We've got a wind chill kicking in. Only feels like it's 40 as the wind just never quite gave up as far as when the storm rolled through and after it was done, still coming in from the southwest at 15 miles per hour. Temperature is going to be cooler today than what we had even on Monday and Tuesday. 42 in Independence, 46 in Monette, 49 right now in Fort Scott. As far as the bus stop forecast goes, we'll get there. I want to talk about the trough because we were anticipating it getting into the Ozarks by this morning, and there it is. Got to remember, this thing was over here at the Four Corners in the western portion of the United States yesterday, and it was a fast mover as it rolls through. Now, all this rain that we're seeing, that band from Texas all the way up to portions of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, well, it's going to make its way toward the northeast for Thanksgiving and give us clearing skies for the holiday. So mostly cloudy start for us, but then after we get into tonight, and it does get a little chilly after the cloud cover begins to move out. We'll be close to the freezing point tomorrow morning. But then look at this. Straight up into the 60s, whole bunch of sunshine, drying out what's going to be a perfect Thanksgiving. And then we can worry about cooler temperatures and rain headed toward the weekend after the holiday.
Yeah, I can't complain about that. That's going to be a pretty nice Thanksgiving.
Looks setting up to just be gorgeous.
Yeah, we can take that, get that rain moved out, and we'll start drying out.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, COVID-19 has an impact on many industries and fields, including manufacturing, and a couple of local manufacturers are seeing differing effects. Candy House Gourmet, which makes all of its products in-house, has taken extra steps to ensure their workers and customers are safe during COVID. Officials say it's beneficial that they're a food manufacturer, as many of the current COVID safety protocols were already in place. However, what they don't have is an increased workforce, which they need for increased demand during the holidays.
So we usually double, if not triple, our year-round staff at the Christmas season. And this year, we just don't have the applicants. We've been running a lot of different courses to try to get those people in, but we're just not seeing those numbers this year.
We also spoke with Modine Manufacturing in Joplin, who said they're seeing the same problems bringing in skilled workers to meet increased production demands. City of Miami, Oklahoma last night got input from residents about a possible mask mandate. Speakers included some people who say a mandate would infringe on their rights and local medical professionals who worry that if something isn't done, the healthcare system could become overwhelmed. There was no vote on a mask ordinance last night, and the city says the earliest one that could be voted on is December 15th. The city of Joplin and Freeman Health System announced Joplin's Christmas parade is canceled. Organizers say the decision was made in the best interest of public safety. Annual parade was scheduled for next Tuesday and had been modified into a reverse parade where the floats and participants are stationary and the spectators drive through. Miami, Oklahoma is still having its Christmas parade Saturday, December 5th, but other events have been canceled, like Santa and a movie, a business expo, Rotary Pancake Feed, holiday open house, and a ladies' night shopping event. You can find more information about holiday experiences planned in Miami by visiting our website. The pandemic is changing the way some people celebrate Thanksgiving, and it's changing how the Carthage Crisis Center is handling its Thanksgiving feast that helps feed people in need. KOAM's Caitlin Shive gives us a look at the preparations.
Preparations are underway for the Carthage Crisis Center's annual Thanksgiving feast to feed those in need.
It really is one of our biggest events of the year. We typically feed about 400 people in the community. On a normal occasion, we feed them in-house, and then we also deliver meals to people in the community who aren't able to come out.
But this year, because of the pandemic, things will look a little differently, with a focus on to-go meals and only family members of residents allowed inside.
They're able to have family members come in, provided they're completely clear of any COVID-related symptoms, and they're able to sit down with their family members socially distanced throughout our building so they can have Thanksgiving dinner.
Karen Anderson has been a resident at the Crisis Center for almost 10 months now and was relieved to know she could still celebrate the holiday with family.
It was uplifting.
But she also wanted to help out where she could, using her time to prepare the to-go meals.
I always help out whenever and wherever I can, so it's my way of giving back.
They are prepping around 400 meals for the community with contactless delivery, and volunteers for preparations are being kept small for safety purposes.
We've had such amazing support from the community, my own personal family coming in to help prepare food to make sure that we have enough so that no one goes without.
Each community member will get a hot and cold box full of classic Thanksgiving food, something those at the center worried wouldn't happen this year, but are thankful that it is.
Sometimes the holidays are really hard. Sometimes they're challenging enough. And so if we can be a bright spot and if we can be a place of reprieve for someone to know that they've been taken care of and they've been thought of, we want to do it. So then our shift focus changed and we wanted to say, okay, so how can we do this? It's not a matter of can we, how can we do it?
In Carthage, Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
The center also wanted to thank the community for all of its donations to help with the Thanksgiving feast this year. Joplin Parks and Recreation Department hosted a public meeting yesterday to get public input on the future of Joplin Parks. The department is working with Laneworks Studio in Olathe, Kansas to come up with a 10-year master plan.
Skateboarders, mountain bikes, trail connectivity, BMX bike tracks, those citizens, really have come out tonight really wanting to, say, hey, this is what we want in Joplin, we don't have it.
If you missed last night's meeting, you can still weigh in. You can find a link to do that on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Carthage Bright Futures is getting some help providing lunches and improving vision for area students. The Knights of Columbus yesterday presented Bright Futures with a $5,000 check. It'll be used for the lunch program and to provide free vision testing for Carthage students.
This year, more than ever, we're helping records numbers of people with COVID and things going on like that in our community. We have more people in need than we've ever had before. And so we're over the top busy this year as compared to last year.
The money was raised through a golf tournament in September. It's 5:07.
A little rain holding on in the eastern portion, and there it goes. It's going to push off pretty quick. Should be fine by the time the kids get ready to go to school. No worries on the commute. Mostly cloudy skies today. Then we're going to cool off overnight. It's going to be a chilly Wednesday night into Thursday morning, but a gorgeous Thanksgiving as the sun is going to shine and put us up into the 60s.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, holiday concern.
More than 2,000 people died from COVID-19 yesterday alone. And with Thanksgiving get-togethers approaching, officials fear that grim number could rise. I'm Deborah Alfrone in Washington with what experts want you to know.
Why your Thanksgiving grocery bill will be a bit cheaper this year. And the KSHAA votes on the fate of winter high school sports. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Winter high school sports season begins on time in Kansas. Kansas State High School Activities Association Board of Directors voting to allow the season to begin as scheduled December 1. With the vote yesterday, the board also approved a breaking competition extending from December 23 to January 7. A previous proposal would have pushed the start date of competition back to January 15. Now, the winter sports season in Kansas just a week away.
It's huge. I've been trying to get my guys excited for our first event, but with this, uncertain times, we kind of don't know, so it's kind of hard to get pumped up and excited for our first event, which is December 3rd over in Seneca, Missouri. But now we have a date. Now we know we're going to do it, so now we can really push towards that, and I'm just excited to get started.
While the season begins on time, the board voted to not allow fans at events through January 28th. Last night, the season opener for Joplin High School boys basketball took a new look after losing 4 of 5 starters. All that's left is Always Right. He's a holdover from last winter. Joplin hitting the floor against McDonald County in game number 1, and Always Right went straight to work. Right to the rim for the first 2 points of the night and the season. Later in the first, back to the bucket. He had 14 in the first half. Other end, Mustangs hanging around. Sterling Woods open for the 3. McDonald County finds itself within 1 point after 1 quarter. Second quarter, Dante Washington. Score, foul, 14 for Washington in the second quarter alone. He finished with 20. Always Right, right on mark. Oh, launch that thing 25 feet. In the fourth, Right. Why stop? 6 threes, Always Right. 32 points. Joplin wins its home opener, beats Mack County 80-60. Across town from that one, McCully girls opening against Liberal, starting in the first. Check out Kaylee Teeter. Right through traffic, hits the floor hard. Kaylee right back up and playing defense, game high 14. Bank shot from Chloe Williamson, who had 9 on the night. Later in the first, Williamson again. Do it inside, do it outside. Boom. Pushes the lead to 6. Liberal has an answer in the third. The bucket from Gracie Bott brings the Bulldogs within 9. But McCully holds on, wins the opener 45-33. Both Pittsburgh State and Missouri Southern hit the floor, and Missouri Southern on the road against Central Mo. On the women's side, Lions looking for that first win after a pair of tight losses last week. However, the Jennies win at 78-52. Caitlin Honeycutt had 14 on the night for Southern. As for the men, Cam Martin with 23 points, and he leads the number 21 ranked Lions over the Mules 67-58. Southern now 3-0. Pitt State and Wichita yesterday to take on Newman. Gorillas get their first win, beat the Jets 61-49, 13-6 for Kaylee DeMitz. PSU men 72-70 winners. Bobby Arthur Williams with 17. Gorilla men are now 2-0 to start the year. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, amid the pandemic, Japan is facing a new crisis: suicide. We'll look at why disproportionately it affects women, and a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. 5:17, or just past 5:17. On this Wednesday morning, coming off of a thunderstorm-filled Tuesday night, still hanging on to a little rain up in the eastern portion of southwest Missouri and then up in the north-central portion of the 4 states as well. Everything moving off to the east and not a whole lot behind it. So just about done for the day. Everything up here is going to continue to make its way up toward Kansas City. When we look at the accumulation that we had from yesterday into this morning, easily over an inch on that path right there. Joplin Regional recording 3/4 of an inch. It was much needed. Granted, we did get high wind and hail, especially along the Kansas-Oklahoma state line right there and a little bit into southern southwest Missouri, but really it was kind of nice to be able to pick up on the old monthly and yearly totals. Nothing down here, and that's where everything generated from. So like I said, we're going to clear off here for the rain-wise. It's going to take a little bit for the cloud cover to go anywhere. Freeman Health System sky camera, 45 degrees. It's a chilly morning. Wind chill of only 38 right now. 45 in Oswego, 46 in Carthage, 46 in Iola. Once again, go ahead and take 5 to 6 degrees off this as far as what it's going to feel like. So bundle them up. Umbrella not going to be needed. Tell them not to jump in the puddles. Too cold to be doing that. Southwest gusts, though, it's going to be a little bit windy here, up to 25 miles per hour. Temperatures going to be pretty steady. Not much of a bump up, not a precipitous drop either at the same point in time. Just going to be able to kind of ride where we are. Here's that trough of the jet stream that we were talking about just a little bit ago. This thing originated over here in the Four Corners yesterday morning, and for it to travel that far all the way into the Ozarks right there means it was booking, and what it's going to do is force all this rain up to the northeastern portion of the United States here as we head toward the Thanksgiving holiday. Now, speaking of the Thanksgiving holiday, like I said, we're just kind of stagnant temperature-wise. Now, overnight, we clear off. That's going to mean it gets a little bit chilly, but even though it's going to be a very cool Thanksgiving morning, look at the afternoon. There's 160 on there and a whole lot of sunshine. It just so happens to be the perfect day of the week on Thanksgiving. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Scaling back Thanksgiving dinner means people don't need as much turkey as they normally would need, and that means demands for smaller birds. Aaron Mabin has the story.
Inside Milwaukee's Tower Chicken Farm, owner Greg Schmidt carries a tune and a turkey.
19 1/3.
With Thanksgiving days away, it's the busiest bird buying week of the year.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There was a long line Monday morning as people prepared to purchase poultry.
They were lined up from the front door all the way to that building next door.
Back inside the shop, workers rushed to fill orders.
There goes Susan carrying another sold bird.
The CDC urging families to stay home and stick to smaller gatherings this Thanksgiving as the coronavirus surges throughout the country.
I have too many big birds. I need to get rid of them.
As customers picked up their smaller turkeys,
you're all set.
They shared their scaled back plans.
This year it's going to be us and then my stepfather, who's been locked in the house since March 2. I just can't let anybody else through the door right now.
Cassandra O'Neill had to trim her guest list.
If there was any hope of the cases going down, then I'd reconsider at that point.
A decision so many are struggling with the holiday on the horizon.
You're either going to take an 11-pound or you're going to get a 20-pound.
Schmidt plans to fill whatever demand comes his way the best he can.
They're still buying the bigger bird because everybody wants to take something home.
CDC says if you're going to celebrate Thanksgiving with someone outside your household, make sure you wear a mask, maintain social distancing. Our question for you this morning, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish? Log on to our Facebook page and let us know. Maybe you're out cooking this morning. Or you can go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Take part in our Insta poll. Be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, more than 2,000 Americans died from COVID-19 yesterday, according to Johns Hopkins University. Health officials are concerned the number is only going to get worse in the weeks after Thanksgiving, when many Americans will be gathering with family and friends. Deborah Alfarone is in Washington with more.
Many Americans are scaling back Thanksgiving this year.
Probably do a Zoom call or FaceTime. We will make some type of contact and, give thanks. Just be over the phone.
Health officials say small gatherings are some of the biggest spreaders of the coronavirus.
The risk is high for families. There's just no way to sugarcoat that.
Still, AAA expects up to 50 million Americans to travel for the holiday.
My son moved here with my grandkids, so Thanksgiving, here I am. I didn't want to come, but I did.
Some are getting tested before seeing family and friends.
It's a lot of people getting tested, so I guess everybody will make sure they're safe for the holidays.
But a negative test may be a false security blanket.
So it's great that it's negative today, but it is not an invitation to go out and interact with others because you could test positive in the subsequent few days.
Skyrocketing cases and hospitalizations have forced state and local governments to put in new restrictions. But without any new stimulus package from Congress, businesses are struggling.
For every restaurant staff member, there's a family behind that person.
Lawmakers in Minnesota are working to pass their own stimulus bill in the meantime.
Sacrifices they're making can't be for naught. We're actually saving lives, keeping people out of the hospital, but we need to make sure that we're taking care of these folks.
Congress is on a Thanksgiving break until November 30th. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Also facing Congress, it has to pass a bill to fund the government by December 11th. And yesterday, a group of 127 economists published an open letter pressing Congress to pass a stimulus bill. Researchers at Northwestern University are using artificial intelligence to detect COVID-19 by analyzing X-rays of the lungs. Scientists say this technique will not replace swab testing, but could be used to screen patients admitted to the hospital for other reasons. Pre-pregnancy obesity is on the rise in the U.S. The new CDC report shows rates rose more than 3% in recent years. Women under the age of 20 and those with a college degree were the least likely to have obesity issues. A new study finds men are 10 times more likely to develop liver cancer if they have a common genetic disorder called hemochromatosis. Patients with the condition have too much iron in the body and can feel tired and achy. Researchers say a blood test can identify people at risk. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Just hanging on to a little rain out there, still left on the eastern portion. Cool, as we've got wind chills in the 40s right now, but look at what's going to transpire tomorrow. How about sunny skies and 60s? Back right after this.
We'll look at the pandemic's impact on local factories. Plus, the city of Miami gets public input on a mask mandate and how the Carthage Crisis Center is keeping a Thanksgiving tradition alive.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, our morning talker today is about Thanksgiving food. Let us know what your favorite Turkey Day dish is. And be sure to participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We want to kick off our annual morning show Thanksgiving dinner today. We're going to have some traditional and some not so traditional recipes for you to make tomorrow morning. Feel free to share those. And first, a check on your forecast.
Just rain, no lightning, no thunder, no high winds, no hail. Did have storm reports last night from along the Kansas-Oklahoma state line of 50-mile-an-hour winds and some hail involved with that as well. But now we're just dealing with the leftover rain on the eastern part of southwest Missouri. It's just about out of here. From the Freeman Health System sky camera, we'll get Jesse get up there and get the squeegee. He'll take care of it. He always likes to do that. 45 degrees, but he needs to bundle up because it only feels like it's 38 right now, as we'll have southwest gusts up to 25 miles per hour. Wind is going to shift a little bit, and that will steady our temperature. Still going to be cool for the kiddos, though. Mostly cloudy skies and hanging in the mid-40s. Not going to have a bump up after sunrise at 7:08. Look at that trough of the jet stream now, just moving on the other side of Joplin. It is going to force all that rain, though, up to the northeastern portion for Thanksgiving for us. So as we progress through today, we get a peek of sunshine here right before sunset. Not a whole lot of it, though. And then as we get ready for Thanksgiving morning, ooh, as that clears out, there's going to be a chill tomorrow morning. But then look, just in time for everybody to sit back and enjoy a wonderful afternoon. Temperatures up into the 60s with a whole bunch of sunshine. Then we can talk about dropping back into the 50s with some weekend rain. But the holiday is setting up to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I wish we get a little more sunshine in today, though. Maybe a little more warmth.
Not today. We're saving it.
Saving it for tomorrow.
Putting it in our back pocket. We're saving it for tomorrow. Would you rather have 50 degrees and some sun, like 55 today and sunshine today, and then 52 tomorrow and partly cloudy?
No, not really. I
Okay.
like tomorrow. I just want to stretch it out so I can air out my house before.
That's why we're putting it in our back pocket for tomorrow.
Cooking.
It's like
There you
that
go.
ace up the sleeve. Don't ever put an ace up your sleeve, kids. If you get caught, you get in trouble.
Yeah, no cheating, Michael. All right, thanks. COVID-19 has an impact on many industries and fields, including manufacturing. A couple of local manufacturers are seeing differing effects. Candy House Gourmet, which makes all of its products in-house, has taken extra steps to ensure its workers and customers are safe during COVID. Officials say it's beneficial that they're a food manufacturer, as many of the current COVID safety protocols were already in place. However, what they don't have is an increased workforce, which they need for increased demand during the holidays. The city of Miami, Oklahoma last night got input from residents about a possible mask mandate. Speakers included some who say a mandate would infringe on their rights, and local medical professionals who worry that if something is not done, the healthcare system could become overwhelmed. There was no vote on a mask ordinance last night. The city says the earliest one could be voted on is December 15th. The Carthage City Council will hold a special meeting today to discuss a possible mask mandate, and that'll be at 3:15 in the council chambers. Well, some more Kansas counties have made decisions on whether they will follow Governor Laura Kelly's new mask mandate. Crawford County has opted into the new mandate. Cherokee and Bourbon County opted in as well. Wilson County passed its own mandate that would require a face covering in all public indoor and outdoor places where social distancing is not possible. That order will last for at least 30 days. Well, a federal program that had extended unemployment benefits for an extra 13 weeks in Kansas will stop next month, just as new COVID-19 restrictions could lead to more furloughs and layoffs. U.S. Department of Labor informed the state labor agency that the Kansas unemployment levels had fallen below the eligibility threshold for the extended benefits program. The last payments for Kansans on the program will be the week ending December 12th. Well, some Kansans are still waiting on their unemployment benefits as long as 9 months for a single payment. And with Kansans still in the need of financial help during the pandemic, a petition is circulating on social media fighting to hold the Kansas Department of Labor accountable for the backlog of Kansans waiting to receive payments. Caroline Elliott has the story.
I would like to get this in front of Secretary of Labor Ryan Wright, the Director of Unemployment Insurance, and ultimately Governor Kelly, and whether that is, coordinating a march to the front steps in Topeka or a class action lawsuit, but something needs to be done.
After months of waiting for a single payment from the Kansas Department of Labor, Summer Cole started an online petition to hold KDOL accountable and demand a solution. As thousands of Kansans wait for benefits, some fear even more evictions will happen over the holiday season.
December 31st, the eviction ban lifts in Kansas, and so at the rate things have been going, there's going to be thousands of Kansans homeless on January 1st.
So far, more than 200 people have signed the petition, hoping it will put some pressure on lawmakers and the state to find a solution.
So the first week I was just kind of like making adjustments, but it's coming down to the point where I can't pick up my prescriptions.
A spokesperson with the Kansas Department of Labor says the agency is working through a backlog of 13,000 people right now. They hope the department will have the pandemic unemployment assistance backlog cleared up by the end of the year. Well, the pandemic is changing the way some people celebrate Thanksgiving, and it's changing how the Carthage Crisis Center is handling its Thanksgiving feast that helps feed people in need. Preparations are underway at the Carthage Crisis Center for their dinner. The Crisis Center is reducing the number of volunteers helping with prepping to keep things safe. This year, residents will be spaced out in their dining area to allow for social distancing. Only family members of residents will be allowed inside for the meal, and they'll have to be cleared of any COVID symptoms beforehand. To-go meals are a priority, however, for community members in need with contactless delivery.
Sometimes the holidays are really hard. Sometimes they're challenging enough. And so if we can be a bright spot and if we can be a place of reprieve for someone to know that they've been taken care of and they've been thought of, we want to do it. So then our shift focus changed and we wanted to say, okay, so how can we do this? It's not a matter of can we, how can we do it?
Crisis Center is preparing around 400 meals. Each person will get a hot and cold box full of classic Thanksgiving food. The Mercy Park Holiday Tree Trail in Joplin is officially ready for visitors. The trees, sponsored and decorated by local businesses, will be lit through January 1st. And we've told you before about how the idea came about as a way for four-staters to get in the holiday spirit with less risk. And once you've found your favorite tree along the trail, you can vote for it online. But you have to vote by December 21st. And winners will receive a trophy and catering package from Texas Roadhouse. Pretty awesome. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we'll bring you 2 Thanksgiving casserole recipes you don't want to miss. Plus, the trial over the death of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi continues in Turkey. We'll have the latest. But first, it's 5:37.
It'll be a little bit cooler than what we did anticipate this late in November, as we're going to be in the 40s, mostly cloudy to start with, but look at this. This is setting up just to be a gorgeous Thanksgiving with sunny skies, mild temps, and if you are doing something outside with family, you're not going to have to fight the wind. Just a little 5 to 10 mile per hour breeze out of the south. After that, we'll cool back down to the 50s. World Watch is next.
Topping World Watch, for months we've been reporting on hospital ICU units and how they're struggling across the world. But Japan is also becoming overwhelmed with hotlines trying to prevent that related COVID killer, suicide. Connecting all this for us is Selena Wang in Tokyo.
Eriko Kobayashi tried to kill herself 4 times.
I was really poor. I'm ashamed to say it, but I shoplifted then. I worked full-time, even overtime, but did not have enough money to live.
She was working for a publishing company but couldn't make ends meet. Now she works at an NGO, but since the pandemic, the stress she felt then is now back.
My salary was cut, and I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I constantly feel a sense of crisis that I might fall back into poverty.
Japanese women are bearing the brunt of job losses from the pandemic, often working in industries like hotel, food service, and retail.
Japan has been ignoring women. It's a society where the weakest people are cut off first.
In October, more Japanese died of suicide than from 10 months of COVID-19, partly driven by suicide among women, which increased 80% from the previous year.
They are suffering so much, they just feel it's better to die.
Koki Ozura started a mental health hotline in March. 70% of the people asking for help are women.
They lost their jobs and they need to raise their kids, but they don't have any monies. They attempt to suicide.
His nonprofit receives about 200 messages a day. Koki says his 600 volunteers are not enough to keep up with the volume.
And I've been messaging, accept messages like, I'm raped by the father, a real dad. Or my husband tried to kill me.
Wow,
Yeah.
because of the pandemic.
Because of the pandemic, yes. Because before the pandemic, they had like the place that they can escape, like the schools or the office.
Japan has long struggled with one of the highest suicide rates in the world, but the number had been decreasing up until the pandemic. The government has invested in suicide prevention, but Eriko says it also requires changing society.
It's shameful for others to know your weakness and misery, so you hide everything and endure. We need to create a culture where it's okay to show your weakness.
Several Japanese celebrities have taken their lives in recent months, which often causes an increase in suicide in the general public. Hana Kimura, a 22-year-old professional wrestler and reality TV star, died of suicide after a barrage of hate on social media. Hana's mother says the pandemic has compounded the challenges for women.
The women used to take care of children and the household. Now they have to work as well. So all the social strain piles up on the women.
Now in her 40s, Eriko is much better at dealing with her anxiety and hopes that by speaking publicly about her fears, more people will do so and realize they are not alone before it's too late.
According to the WHO, close to 800,000 people die from suicide every year. If you or someone you know has suicidal thoughts, please dial the suicide hotline for help. The case against Saudi officials charged for the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi resumes in Turkey. A Turkish court added 6 more defendants to the list of 20 Saudi officials already being tried in absentia. Khashoggi, a vocal critic of the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, was last seen at the Saudi consulate on October 2nd, 2018. Turkish officials believe Khashoggi's body was dismembered and removed from the building. His remains have not been found. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. It's as easy as what's your favorite Thanksgiving food? You can either go to the KOAM News Now Facebook page or go to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote to take part in our Insta poll. We're going to begin our comments with Lisa Wickwire. This is great. Look at this. Trying a new recipe called scrumptious scalloped potatoes. I'm in, Lisa. Morning, Tanya and Michael. Good morning, Lisa. Michelle Pacini wants everybody to have a happy Thanksgiving and a little love you, Mama. She says a lot of it comes down to who's the cook. Some people were born in the kitchen, others not so much. Understood, Michelle. I feel like that was a shot at me, and that's fine. Kenny Kimmel says a tie between homemade dressing, homemade chicken noodles, turkey, green bean casserole, turkey gravy, and dessert. Perfect, Kenny. Benny Rice goes with cornbread dressing. And Guy Hansen says, just give me a normal Thanksgiving, please. Stuffing like Mom used to make. Guy says, just try having stuffing with Thanksgiving without great stuffing. Well, Guy, interestingly enough, I wanted to use yours last because on our Insta poll right now, look at this. Stuffing and dressing. It's our leader at 41%. That seems to be the odds-on favorite right now. In fact, it's even beating out turkey. Turkey's only getting 19%. You're right up with everybody else right there, Guy. All right, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Health experts fear the Thanksgiving holiday will intensify the surging coronavirus pandemic. Officials across the country have urged people to spend the holiday at home with as few family members as possible. Many Americans appear to be ignoring the warnings. Up to 48 million are expected to hit the roads to get to their Thanksgiving destinations, with millions more traveling by air. The city of Miami, Oklahoma last night got input from residents about a possible mask mandate. Speakers included some people who say a mandate would infringe on their rights, and local medical professionals who worry that if something is not done, the healthcare system could become overwhelmed. There was no vote on a mask ordinance last night. The city says the earliest one would be voted on is December 15th. COVID-19 has an impact on many industries and fields, including manufacturing. Candy House Gourmet, which makes all of its products in-house, has taken extra steps to ensure its workers and customers are safe during COVID. Officials say it's beneficial that they're a food manufacturer, as many of the current COVID safety protocols were already in place. However, what they don't have is an increased workforce, which they need for increased demand during the holidays. A federal program that had extended unemployment benefits for an extra 13 weeks in Kansas will stop next month, just as new COVID-19 restrictions could lead to more furloughs and layoffs. The U.S. Department of Labor informed the state labor agency that the Kansas unemployment levels had fallen below the eligibility threshold for the extended benefits program. The last payments for Kansans on the program will be the week ending December 12th. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Rain will be gone here in the next 45 minutes to an hour, pushes off to the east. A little bit of a dreary day. Temperatures steady in the mid-40s and mostly cloudy skies. Just hang on though. Look at this. Thanksgiving is going to be delightful. Sunshine up into the 60s, and don't have to fight the wind if you're outside. Enjoy it. Be back right after this.
Well, we've reached one of my favorite days of the year, the day where our morning crew gets to share our family tradition of Thanksgiving dinner with you guys at home. And we're going to kick it off with 2 casserole recipes made by our producers. We have a green bean casserole and a corn casserole. And there we have our producers joining us, Caden Milner and Gus Brunetti.
Howdy, Tanya.
And Zach Dodge is also joining us this morning in the Weather Center, where he's not forecasting, but
definitely not forecasting.
going to be taste testing this morning.
Sure. I think you're going to forecast some delicious food, Zach.
I could do that. I mean,
All right, let's go ahead and start off with the green bean casserole. Caden?
Yeah, sure. So green bean casserole is a pretty quintessential recipe for Thanksgiving, but it's also like incredibly easy to make. I mean, really you just need to get 2 cans of green beans, can of condensed mushroom soup, can of French onions. The recipe that I saw called for cheddar cheese, but honestly I prefer Velveeta cheese. Got to get that liquid gold. So first you preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Then you place your green beans, your soup in a microwave safe bowl, mix them, heat it up in the microwave for about 3 to 5 minutes. Then stir in about half a cup of cheese. Then heat the mixture for about 2 to 3 minutes in the microwave. Then transfer the green bean mixture in a casserole dish, sprinkle with French fried onions, the remaining cheese, and then throw it into the oven and basically just heat it up till the cheese melts and you begin to brown.
Caden, Zach and I have been chowing down on this while you've been telling us how to make it. I think it's a winner. What do you think, Zach?
I definitely think so. I like green beans, but I traditionally don't like green bean casserole. I think it's just because of the way they're cooked, but I definitely like it. Caden, good job.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about the corn casserole. Gus?
Well, what can I say, Tanya? Nothing says Thanksgiving like corn, so we brought a lot of it. And you know, just like me, it gets a little cheesy on Thanksgiving too. To pull up the recipe, it's pretty simple. First of all, you get yourself a can of creamed corn, a can of corn. I told you there's a lot of corn. You drain that corn. Get yourself 2 eggs, a stick of melted margarine, and 8 ounces of sour cream. You mix that ooey gooey goodness together, add 1 package of corn muffin mix. You sprinkle a bag of cheddar cheese on top, and you bake that for 15 minutes at 350 degrees.
Gus, this is really good.
It's cornalicious, if I say so myself.
Definitely a lot of corn.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And cheese.
Corn on corn on corn.
Just like the Pilgrims.
Okay. No, this is actually pretty tasty. Okay, so you can't have Thanksgiving without mashed potatoes, and that's one of the recipes we're going to be featuring when we come back later in the show. We'll be right back.
Little rain hanging on up to the north and then on the eastern part of southwest Missouri. Not the thunderstorm activity certainly that we incurred overnight, but everything moving out to the east. Be done with it here in the next hour or so. Now as we work through today, going to be mostly cloudy and cool into the 40s and steady temperatures. Good southwest breeze coming in, gusting 25 miles per hour. It's worth the wait. Look at this Thanksgiving we're setting up for. 60s, and if you're going to be outside, don't have to fight the wind, just 5 to 10 miles per hour. We'll be right back after this.
We'll look at the pandemic's impact on local factories. Plus, the city of Miami gets public input on a mask mandate and how the Carthage Crisis Center is keeping a Thanksgiving tradition alive.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, we continue our morning show Thanksgiving dinner with recipes for mashed potatoes and cheese dip. And speaking of Turkey Day food, that's the subject of this morning's Something to Talk About. We want to know what your favorite Thanksgiving dish is. You can also vote in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, check on your forecast.
It's going to be a runaway today. Stuffing's going to win the Insta poll, hands down. No, I don't think anybody can catch it. All right, a little rain up to the north of Nevada and working its way out to the easterly in between Nevada and Butler right now. Everything to the eastern portion of southwest Missouri starting to actually exit our highlighted counties. Nothing behind it but clouds. Clouds are going to stick around until we clear off here a little bit later. Live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin. It's a chilly one. 45 degrees, only feeling though like 38 with a southwest wind of 16 miles per hour. So remember, knock off 5-6 degrees as far as what you're seeing temperature wise and what your body wants to tell you it is when you walk outside. Big trough of the jet stream right there. You see it right under Joplin, just a little bit to the east of it. That's the one that was over the 4 corners yesterday in the western portion of the United States. That's called booking it now. That's why we had those thunderstorms overnight with storm reports along the Missouri-Arkansas state line and then right along the Kansas-Oklahoma state line as well. Got a little bit up toward I-44. I know we had some 50-mile-an-hour winds there. As far as our weather trend goes today, it's going to be a little bit dreary. And you know, with the clouds not wanting to clear out and temperatures kind of hanging in the 40s. But here's why it's worth the wait. Check this out for tomorrow, especially if you're going to be outside with family, anything like that. Well, number one, sunshine and temps in the 60s. Number two, you're not going to have to worry about the plates and everything getting blown off the table. It's just going to be a little south breeze of 5 to 10 miles per hour. This is absolutely perfect. So we had fog, we had thunderstorms, we've got cloudy and cool. That was our first 3 days of the week. I'll take that, Mother Nature. Look at what she's going to give us on Thanksgiving. Just gorgeous.
I know, it's great.
Sometimes my fickle mistress cooperates with me.
My only wish is if we could get a taste of it this afternoon so we could start airing things out and make everything fresh and clean before Thanksgiving.
Don't you get greedy with her.
I know.
Don't you get greedy with her.
Just a little more.
Come on. You're putting me in a tough spot with her right now.
I know. She's been good.
Mother Nature, you're okay in my book.
She's giving us a good Thursday, Friday. We'll take that.
I don't know why Mother Nature lives in the rafters all of a sudden. That's what I talk to her.
All right, moving on. COVID-19 has an impact on many industries and fields, including manufacturing, and a couple of local manufacturers are seeing differing effects. Modine Manufacturing in Joplin makes heat transfer products and says at the start of the pandemic, demand for their products decreased 50%. Now, plant officials tell us demand is higher now than it was prior to the pandemic, but they're coming up short on workers.
It's a struggle to find people. They have sent us everybody they have, and that's it. And it's interesting with unemployment rate much higher than it was, say, 8-9 months ago before the pandemic. It seems like it's more difficult to find people now than it was then.
McDonald County Health Department is reporting 4 more COVID-19 related deaths. They didn't provide any information about the patients. These latest deaths bring the county's total to 21. On the eve of Thanksgiving, the patients inside the ICU at St. Louis University Hospital will likely spend the holiday alone. The exception being the numerous doctors, nurses, and therapists working to keep them alive. Alexis Zotto's got an inside look into the hospital's COVID unit.
For 9 months, this has been Benjamin Crew's day-to-day.
Managing the ventilator is a lot of what I do. So the breathing machine that people are put on.
Suiting up in PPE, the respiratory therapist at the ICU at St. Louis University Hospital works to ensure the most severe COVID-19 patients can breathe.
It's just wearing to come in and take care of these people and see a lot of people just not taking this seriously outside of here. If only they could see what was going on.
SLU Hospital let our cameras into the ICU for the first time. Due to privacy rules, we can't show patients' faces, but each is battling against COVID-19. In this room, a young person in their early 20s is on a ventilator.
In the beginning, I wasn't seeing such young patients, and now lately we're getting patients in their 20s.
Nobody is 100% safe from the virus.
Dr. Ghassam Kamal is currently treating 22 COVID-19 patients in SLU's ICU. They're at capacity. Every room is full. Some patients wait days in the ER to be moved into the ICU, where more extensive treatments can take place.
Around, I would say, 50-50 of between our COVIDs and the usual patients that we see on a day-to-day basis.
2 floors up and not in the ICU is Mary Daly. She was admitted for COVID-19 last Wednesday.
Well, I couldn't taste. I couldn't breathe too good. And my chest was hurting.
Due to her isolation, we FaceTimed with the 62-year-old mother of 5.
I don't know what to expect.
Alone, except for the medical staff, a nurse comforts her as she tears up.
Okay, well, if you want upset. I want us to be together.
The loneliness is the toughest part for these doctors and nurses to witness. Patients battling this virus and sometimes not surviving, all without their loved ones.
That's the most difficult part, I would say, of this pandemic.
It's really hard to feel a little helpless when you know you've done everything you can, and sometimes that's just not enough.
Health officials say they don't want to see even more of the community inside those hospitals and are urging people to think twice about large gatherings tomorrow that could continue to spread the virus. City of Miami, Oklahoma last night got input from residents about a possible mask mandate. Speakers last night included some who say a mandate would infringe on their rights, local medical professionals who worry that if something is not done, the healthcare system could become overwhelmed.
The house is on fire. That we're getting exponential increase in our rates of COVID-19 cases, and the longer we wait to do a mask mandate, the more people are going to suffer illness and perhaps die.
The slippery slope. People don't understand truly what socialism is and what it means to start forcing things on people. When people do lose their freedoms, then they might understand, but how do you turn back? How do you go back to having those freedoms?
There was no vote on a mask ordinance last night. The city said the earliest one would be voted on is December 15th. Pandemic is changing the way some people celebrate Thanksgiving, and it's changing how the Carthage Crisis Center is handling its Thanksgiving feast that helps feed people in need. Preparations are underway at the Carthage Crisis Center for their dinner. The Crisis Center is reducing the number of volunteers helping with prepping to keep things safe. This year, residents will be spaced out in the dining area to allow for social distancing, and only family members of residents will be allowed inside for the meal. They'll have to be cleared of any COVID symptoms beforehand. To-go meals are a priority, however, for community members in need with contactless delivery. Well, Joplin's getting a new restaurant, and area frontline workers are getting a sneak taste. Blackstone Gastropub is set to open on Black Friday. But yesterday, the owner provided 160 lunches for healthcare workers at Mercy Hospital. He says he hopes the gesture inspires other local businesses to step up and help the people on the front lines in the fight against COVID-19.
We have to support our local community, and these people live here, they work here, and they're working so hard to keep so many people alive and keeping them healthy and in good health and get back on their feet.
The workers were treated to pulled pork, mac and cheese, coleslaw, and cookies. 6:07.
Sunrise at 7:08 this morning, but mostly cloudy skies are going to prevent us from seeing a whole lot of it early. It does keep our temperatures pretty steady, so not really going much of anywhere. Put up with a dreary Wednesday and enjoy a gorgeous Thanksgiving. Sunshine, temps up in the 60s, and certainly not as windy as what it's going to be today. After that, back into the 50s. Fine, we can take that. If you're going to hand us a Thanksgiving that's going to be absolutely gorgeous.
That's a look at this morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we've got 2 more recipes heading your way for our traditional Thanksgiving dinner. First, mashed potatoes, and the second, cheese dip. Looking forward to both of those. Plus, one special Thanksgiving.
Giving thanks for life this Thanksgiving. I'm Michael George with one young father's story of surviving COVID-19.
And why visiting with Santa will be a bit different this year. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, Wall Street continued its rally this week. On Tuesday, the Dow added 454 points and closed above 30,000 for the first time. The Nasdaq added 156, and the S&P 500 gained 57, also closing at a record high. Investors are pleased the presidential transition is finally underway, taking away some uncertainty. The Biden team has already started talking with infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci about the coronavirus pandemic. Purdue Pharma pleaded guilty yesterday to 3 criminal charges stemming from its role in the opioid crisis. The maker of OxyContin admitted to defrauding regulators and paying illegal kickbacks to doctors. Purdue agreed to pay up to $8.3 billion in its settlement with the Justice Department. Scotland became the first country to make sanitary products free to all women. Period products bill passed unanimously. It makes all menstrual products like tampons and pads available in public buildings like schools and community centers. Lawmakers say it's an important step towards helping women and teens in poverty who struggle to afford the products. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, but what Christmas looks like this year will be very different, including the experience of visiting Santa. Nancy Chen reports on how St. Nick is making sure he still hears children's wishes this holiday season.
Ho, ho, ho!
For 34 years, Rick George has been helping out Santa in Milford, Connecticut. This holiday season, he's already more popular than ever.
The children are still wanting that interaction with Santa Claus. They want to be able to stand next to Santa.
Because of the pandemic, he's created a specially designed trailer to be his new North Pole and plans to visit children from behind this window before delivering candy canes through a chute.
Children have told Old St. Nick their Christmas wishes for generations. But this year, Santas around the world are finding new ways to evolve with 2020's challenges.
This Kentucky mall built a wall of presents to keep Santa socially distanced. At Bass Pro Shops, children visit Santa through an acrylic barrier.
And it was the best time I ever had.
Stephen Arnold is the president and CEO of the International Brotherhood of Real Bearded Santas. He plans to do virtual visits and stay inside a snow globe for in-person greetings. He says it's not just safer for children, but the Santas who are often older and more at risk.
We just need to stay away as long as this virus is active in the community. And we don't want to catch it and spread it to the children that we love.
For many, the Christmas spirit continues, even if this year is different.
I believe that it's important for the people that can to give back where they can. And this is easy for me to do.
Pandemic or not, Santa Claus is still coming to town. Nancy Chen, CBS News, Milford, Connecticut.
Macy's has hosted Santa for more than 150 years, but will have virtual visits instead this year. That's it for Money Watch. Here's Michael with our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our Insta poll, it's simple as what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish? And we'll pick up with Dave Sorek. Smart one here. Dave's going with his wife's pumpkin bars. Little get out of jail free card. I like that, Dave. Happy Thanksgiving. Dave says, praise the Lord. Beatrix Rocco's homemade cranberry sauce. Alicia Sherman Parrish, dressing and homemade noodles. And a happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Alicia. Dave Sievert, bourbon pecan pie. Rhett Berry, Aunt Connie's homemade stuffing. A safe and blessed Thanksgiving, KOAM gang in the 4 states. Safe one to you as well, Rhett. And Rick Norton with a good morning, Pittsburgh and KOAM. Good morning, Rick. I love pumpkin pie. Rocky Cunningham, he goes with honey glazed ham or deviled eggs. Right now on our Insta poll, stuffing's going to be our runaway winner on this, coming up with 38% of the vote. 37% of the vote, sorry, went down a little bit. But I love the fact that it's just beating out turkey as well. More than twice as many votes for stuffing as compared to turkey. You can vote as well. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be right back with more Thanksgiving recipes for you right after this.
All right, we continue our Thanksgiving morning of recipes today. And in this segment, we're going to be showing you how we make a cheese dip supplied by our morning Chiron, Will York. And our photographer, who can't join us because he's behind the camera, working right now, made us some mashed potatoes, and these look tasty. Will and Zach Dodge is again in the Weather Center. Will, how do we make this cheese dip?
Well, it's really simple ingredients. Really, it's not a complicated recipe, what we have. So what I usually do, I get a one package of 2 pounds of sausage, which you can basically pick up at a local grocery store. Also have a box of Velveeta cheese, but there's also other options besides the Velveeta name brand. There's also Great Value brand, and this is the box cheese you can easily buy. One you'll have to cut up for your own. And then you'll have a can of Rotel mild tomatoes with the green chilies. And that's what adds the spice to the cheese dip.
Very good, very good. Okay, so Zach is going to explain to us how we make the mashed potatoes.
So for the mashed potatoes, Jesse Conley says that he uses 5 pounds of potatoes, half of those being Yukon Golds and the other half being russet potatoes, and then 2 large cloves of garlic that are minced, some sea salt, 6 tablespoons of butter, so quite a bit of butter, a cup of whole milk. This is the secret ingredient though, 4 ounces of cream cheese, and then you can top that with some fresh chives or green onions or black pepper.
This was actually really tasty. And you can find these recipes along with the 2 recipes we made earlier on our website later this morning, KOAMnewsnow.com. Okay, coming up in a little bit later in the show, we're going to be making 2 dessert recipes. We're showing you how to make them. And one of them is Zach's. You want to tell us what you're making?
Magic cookie bars or sparkle bars or moo cookies or whatever Liam called them earlier. They have several names, but they're super simple.
So some kind of cookie bars, and the other one is a cheesecake.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Topping Healthwatch this morning, a New York family is celebrating life this Thanksgiving. Young father almost died from COVID-19. Michael George has more on his story of survival.
It's been 8 months since Nick Falvo was so sick with COVID-19, doctors told his wife he might not make it. Just before he was put in a coma, Nick called to say goodbye.
I spoke to my wife and my kids, and I told them how much I loved them.
My little guy said, "Daddy, you're the strongest daddy I ever known."
The 40-year-old was airlifted from a local hospital to Westchester Medical Center to get the care the sickest patients need.
I would explain to them that this man is a father. They have to do whatever they can to keep him alive.
Jackie Baldo was Nick's nurse in the trauma ICU.
He was one of the first patients we saw make a turnaround. So for all of us, it was kind of like a pivotal moment in the pandemic where we saw a light at the end of the tunnel. It was that reinforcement and positivity we needed to make it through another day.
Nick says he couldn't have done it without her.
I mean, honestly, I couldn't have done it without him.
38 days later, he left the hospital with dozens of staff, family, and friends cheering.
They said I was their miracle patient.
Nick has had several procedures and surgeries since. One to clear the massive damage the virus did to his lungs. He's also lost the use of his left hand, possibly from how he was positioned in his hospital bed. But he says despite the long recovery, he has a lot to be grateful for.
For my family, all my loved ones, but most of all, my wife. My wife saved my life. And if it wasn't for her and Nurse Jackie and the doctors at Westchester Medical, I wouldn't be here.
Thankful more than ever for family and his health. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Westchester Medical Center Health has developed a recovery program to help COVID patients who are dealing with prolonged health issues. Parents want family home for the holidays despite the potential risk of spreading the coronavirus. In a new nationwide poll of nearly 1,500 parents found about a third say the benefits of gathering outweigh the risk. With COVID-19 cases surging across the country, officials are urging people to avoid gathering in large groups over Thanksgiving. The survey conducted by the C.S. Mott Children's Hospital also found 61% are still planning on in-person gathering this year, with 3/4 of parents saying it's very important for their child to see relatives and share in family holiday traditions. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Even where you don't see the heavier green there for our rain up in between Nevada and Butler pushing off to the east, everything else is kind of reverted back to a mist. It's not heavy rain by any means. Dreary Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, temps in the 40s, but just hang on. We're going to get to Thanksgiving here in a bit, and it's delightful. Be back right after this.
We'll look at the pandemic's impact on local factories. Plus, the city of Miami gets public input on a mask mandate and how the Carthage Crisis Center is keeping a Thanksgiving tradition alive.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, we're going to look at some of Biden's latest cabinet picks and something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. We're asking what your favorite Thanksgiving dish is. You can also vote in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. First, a check on your forecast.
Still have that rain hanging around up to the north, kind of gone from the eastern portion of our 4 state counties, but now we've got a mist coming down just about everywhere else. Certainly nothing like what we had overnight, but you can tell the raindrops remain on the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin. And a wind chill in effect. The temperature is 45, feels like 38. Everything ranging really from 46 in Chanute down to some 41s in Independence. Southwest Missouri sitting at 46 in Lamar and 43 in Monette. As you can tell, the widespread thunderstorm activity is now pushed mostly to the east of the Mississippi. Still got a little bit lingering to the north of us from Kansas City up into Iowa. Our weather trend is going to be a little bit of a dreary Wednesday as the cloud cover remains until it begins to clear out overnight. And our temperatures, while stuck in the 40s today, are actually going to be down in the 30s early tomorrow morning. And then sit back and enjoy. Sunshine kicks in up into the 60s. Don't have to fight any wind if you have outdoor activities. And it is like a one-day Thanksgiving respite. It is perfect timing. Mother Nature at her finest, as we'll drop back into the 50s and even pick up some additional rainfall over the weekend. Rain amounts from last night ranging widespread, anywhere from 3/4 of an inch in Joplin to almost twice that in Chanute. Most of the storm reports right along the Kansas-Oklahoma state line, stretching into southwest Missouri on the other side of I-44. For the most part, did get some much needed rain out of it.
Yeah, it seemed like a nice steady rain when it did come down.
Unless you were down south.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, local manufacturers are seeing the impact of COVID-19 and continuing to make adjustments to production. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with 2 local manufacturers to see what challenges they are facing.
2 local manufacturers are feeling the effects of COVID. We start at Modine in Joplin, which began making changes back in March, like requiring masks when social distancing is impossible, among other things.
We've also about doubled the number of break periods we have. Everybody has the same number of breaks, but there's less people at any one break. so that there's less people in a room at a time.
Across town is another type of manufacturing, chocolates at Candy House Gourmet.
We were already a food establishment, so we were already doing a lot of cleaning already. Thankfully for us, that meant we had things on hand, so when other people had to find a source for that, we already had that under control.
It's not COVID that's causing them problems directly, though.
It's a struggle to find people. They have sent us everybody they have, and that's it. And it's interesting, with unemployment rate much higher than it was, say, 8-9 months ago before the pandemic, it seems like it's more difficult to find people now than it was then.
So we usually double, if not triple, our year-round staff at the Christmas season. And this year, we just don't have the applicants. We've been running a lot of different courses to try to get those people in, but we're just not seeing those numbers this year.
And that is putting a strain on workers.
Lots of overtime right now, which some people like, some people don't.
We've done our own internal changes to do some bigger batches and to do entire days of products instead of doing a little bit at a time, which has really helped our production numbers. We've been able to produce more with less.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Both Modine and Candy House Gourmet say they've seen demand for their products increase within the last couple of months, and both say they're looking for skilled workers. The Miami, Oklahoma City Council met last night to discuss a possible mask mandate. The meeting was not to decide anything just yet. Instead, it was a chance for council members to hear from residents about if they would support a mandate.
The house is on fire. We're getting exponential increase in our rates of COVID-19 cases, and the longer we wait to do a mask mandate, the more people are going to suffer illness and perhaps die.
The slippery slope. People don't understand truly what socialism is and what it means to start forcing things on people. When people do lose their freedoms, then they might understand. But how do you turn back? How do you go back to having those freedoms?
The city says the earliest mandate would be voted on is December 15th. Thanksgiving week is normally one of the busiest weeks for travel in any given year, and people are traveling, but just not as many people as would be in a normal year. This was the scene from Kansas City International Airport yesterday. The numbers from this past weekend paint a picture. More than 2 million people were screened at airports over the weekend. That's less than half of what the number was the same time a year ago. One traveler says she noticed another difference.
Yeah, the flights were definitely cheaper than previous years. I don't know if it was because of the pandemic and they were just trying to fill seats. I'm not sure, but it was cheaper.
Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommend people not spend Thanksgiving with anyone outside their households. The pandemic is changing the way some people celebrate Thanksgiving, and it's changing how the Carthage Crisis Center is handling its Thanksgiving feast that helps feed people in need. Preparations are underway at the Carthage Crisis Center for their dinner. The Crisis Center is reducing the number of volunteers helping with prepping to keep things safe. This year, residents will be spaced out in their dining area to allow for social distancing. Only family members of residents will be allowed inside for the meal, and they'll have to be cleared of any COVID symptoms beforehand. To-go meals are a priority, however, for community members in need with contactless delivery.
We've had such amazing support from the community, my own personal family coming in to help prepare food to make sure that we have enough so that no one goes without.
Crisis Center is preparing around 400 meals. Each person will get a hot and cold box full of classic Thanksgiving food. Empire District Electric customers will see lower bills. A residential customer using 1,000 kilowatt hours will get a $2.33 decrease a month. Empire says this decrease reflects fuel and purchased power cost. And this decrease in bills will start December 1st of this year. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Religious groups take state and local governments to court over coronavirus restrictions. We'll have details. Plus, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish? We're going to let you weigh in our Something to Talk About. But first, it's 6:37.
Got a little mist coming down now where it's the majority of the range staying up to the north. Everybody else probably going to have to use the windshield wipers intermittently if you're leaving here in just a little bit. Temperature is going to be steady in the 40s. Windy one, southwest gusts, 25 miles per hour. Let's get rid of the clouds. Let's get rid of the wind. And let's get rid of the cool temps. And let's do so just in time for a gorgeous Thanksgiving with sunshine, highs in the 60s, and the wind dying down just 5 to 10 miles per hour. It is a one-day respite as we head into the weekend. Cooler temps and more additional rain on Saturday and Sunday. We'll be back with Nation Watch right after this.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, pushback from organized religions against coronavirus restrictions. Many worshipers of different denominations are coming together to try to fight the government in court. Lauren Green shows us more.
On Monday, 2 California churches sought an emergency injunction with the U.S. Supreme Court to halt the state's threat of criminal penalties.
No one should have criminal threats up to a year in prison hanging over their head simply for attending a place of worship.
California has some of the strictest policies leveled against churches and gatherings imposed to combat the spread of the coronavirus. The churches claim that Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order, which threatens jail time and a $1,000 a day fine, violates the Constitution's freedom of religion.
You need to look at those liberties and determine how you can best protect the people. But the balance doesn't tip to protecting people and throwing out the Constitution. That is the sign of tyranny.
California is one of 25 states where houses of worship have taken legal actions over restrictions on gatherings. Lawyers collectively say it's a sign that America's bedrock principle of religious freedom is being severely tested by the pandemic. The bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn, which also filed a case with the Supreme Court against Governor Andrew Cuomo, says politicians must reclassify faith as fundamental.
You have to recognize religion, I think, is essential to society, just as the food stores are. They take care of the body, we take care of the soul.
But some religious groups have hurt their cause, as this video obtained by the New York Post shows. In Brooklyn, hundreds packed a synagogue to celebrate a Hasidic wedding, dancing and singing, and no masks.
There was a very conscious effort to conceal what was going on, and that's what makes it even more unacceptable.
President-elect Joe Biden introduced his national security and foreign policy team to the public on Tuesday. The group includes former Secretary of State John Kerry, who's set to become the nation's first ever climate envoy. Biden's staff also began meeting with officials from the Trump administration less than a day after the federal government authorized the transition. President Trump is spending Thanksgiving week at the White House this year. On Tuesday, the president took part in a long-standing presidential tradition, the pardoning of a pair of turkeys. In his speech, the president said all Americans should give thanks for the vaccines and therapies that he said would soon end the pandemic. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Morning Talker.
On the KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning, I get choked up. I get choked up when I talk about Thanksgiving food. And on our morning inspo asking what your favorite Thanksgiving dish may be. And we'll pick up our comments. Who are we going to resume with? Catherine Lewis Ortiz. Catherine, mashed potatoes with gravy, then turkey with cranberry sauce. Jeff Bishop goes with a ribeye. I think that should go for the other 364 days too, Jeff. Philip Aaron, homemade cranberry sauce. Now, Reed Van Embrew, this is pretty easy to feed him. Everything on the table for Thanksgiving dinner, but the best is the day after. I'm with you. Turkey cranberry sauce with a mayo sandwich. Yes. Marnie Berry asked me, where are the noodles? Homemade noodles. Since my brother voted for my aunt, and I will have to vote for my grandmother's homemade noodles and my mom's amazing mashed potatoes. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and stay safe. Marnie, I apologize, and I'm going to get there in a second. Dave Pitts Sr., I'm a real meat and potatoes guy with a weakness for stuffing. Now, Martha Stewart, she's the dish, and I love that Snoop just made an appearance in the club. And Mary Dugan, she says turkey and gravy. I love turkey and can eat it all year. JJ's smart man. He says whatever my sister puts on the table. And Joanna Lynn Phillips Casilla, turkey, mashed potatoes, and gravy with hot rolls. Now, Marnie, when we were talking about the homemade noodles right there, and I take personal responsibility. I guess it could have been in the something else category. But next year, I'm putting mom's homemade noodles on there. But right now, it's the stuffing that's kind of running away with this with 39%. And then I found this pretty interesting as well. Transition over here. Look at the bottom right there. Pie and cheesecake actually exceeding turkey. Sometimes it's not all about the main dish, huh? Log on to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, and Marnie, I'll take care of that. Be back with birthdays and anniversaries next.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Specialist Jania Vega, who served in the United States Army in 2003 and 2004. A native of Joplin, Vega fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. We are proud to salute Jania Vega, our four-state hero.
Begin the birthday list off with the smiling Bentley Holstein as he celebrates the big #1. And look at that, safety first. He's all strapped in right there. Happy birthday, Bentley in Pittsburgh.
All right, turning 6 this year, Bryn Hobbs. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, Bryn rocking that summer picture right there. That makes me long for the warmer weather, and we'll get some tomorrow. Leonidas Wary. He's got a birthday coming. He's got Thanksgiving birthday. We got a couple of those. Leonidas, that's a good-looking uniform right there, kiddo. He's celebrating his 8th birthday in Uniontown.
And in Girard, Mackenzie Wood will be turning 12 years old tomorrow. Hope you have a great holiday and birthday.
A Thanksgiving teenage birthday for Trinity Green. As Trinity gets ready to celebrate 13. Happy birthday, Trinity in Columbus.
All right, Courtney
Out there at
Flynn.
the fair, I bet you.
Yeah. Courtney Flynn, I love that picture there, Courtney. Turning 18 years old this year in Pittsburgh. Happy birthday, Courtney.
Jason Huganen, celebrating his 48th birthday. Jason, why don't you have a marvelous day in Iola.
Here's a cool one. Turning the big 5-0 with the throwback pick there on Thanksgiving Day in Neosho. It's time to celebrate for Michelle Bowling.
Now, it's funny how your big sister, she's always in charge. Even when you celebrate your 60th birthday, your big sister's always in charge. Because Kathy Gregory, from your big sis, family and friends, we are wishing you a marvelous 60th birthday. What a wonderful picture right there. Happy birthday to Kathy in Sheldon.
Let's see, Charles Leroy Block. Born on Thanksgiving
Wow.
Day in 1936. His birthday this year falls on Thanksgiving again. Pretty cool. 84 years old this year for Mr. Block in Reeds, Missouri.
That is really neat right there. Happy birthday, Mr. Block. Israel Owens, a happy birthday to you. There's a great smile right there. Israel celebrating in Pittsburgh.
All right, we've got a Thanksgiving anniversary, and this year it's the big 60 in Neosho for the Anthons. Congrats going out to Cliff and Bethany Joe in Neosho. 60th wedding anniversary tomorrow.
Who that is?
What?
Look at this graduation picture too. How cool is that? That is our own Allie Simon. Allie actually in studio with us right now. She is behind the camera. And Allie, a happy birthday to you. We appreciate everything that you do. It's a great looking picture too. Congratulations.
Well, in honor of your birthday, Allie, I'm going to ask you to make us a dessert later in the show. Maybe 2 desserts. How about that?
Yeah, she's on it.
She's looking at me.
All right, Sherry
Telling me to
Manning
shut up.
out at Medical Lodges. Everybody social distance, but you make sure you tell Sherry a happy birthday. And Joe and Pat Negaman, a happy anniversary. Joe and Pat, congratulations in Columbus. Happy birthday, happy anniversary. Oh, here, take your headset off, kiddo. Come here. Because we don't get to do this a whole lot. That's where we send them into. Hey, Nathan, do me a favor. Just pop up. Yeah, come here. Because everybody needs to know. This is Allie. It's her birthday. Allie, congratulations. We don't get a chance to bring staff on air and tell them thank you. What? We're not doing birthdays tomorrow. You know this.
Oh, but we'll do hers tomorrow, for
yeah,
sure.
It'll be yours tomorrow. Hey, thank you for all you do. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
Oh, we're just going to keep embarrassing you, I think, Allie. I'm serious. I want you to make us a couple desserts later this morning. Part of our Thanksgiving feast. Can you whip up something real quick? She's gonna get right on that. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
A couple more comments to jaunt through. Sheila Bach-Bradley, the turkey sandwich with mayo and a pickle. But key factor for Sheila, That's not until later that night. It's when the leftovers kick over, you start watching the movies. Glenn Ritchie, I'm ready for it all, but he actually likes a little pie and cheesecake. And Jane Ellis, pecan pie. And get this, I'm sure Jane makes a killer pecan pie, but never makes it except on Thanksgiving. As far as our Insta poll goes, yep, our front runner ever since the morning started, it ended up being stuffing and dressing coming in at 34%. Now, we had a late run on turkey that is now at 19%, tying pie and cheesecake down there at the bottom, 19%. You can still vote, KOAMnews.com/vote. And then we'll keep on running those results when we flip on over to Fox 14. Tanya?
That's right. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Health experts fear the Thanksgiving holiday will intensify the surging coronavirus pandemic. Officials across the country have urged people to spend the holiday at home with as few family members as possible. Many Americans appear to be ignoring the warnings, though. Up to 48 million are expected to hit the roads to get to their Thanksgiving destinations, with millions more traveling by air. The city of Miami, Oklahoma last night got input from residents about a possible mask mandate. Speakers included some people who say a mandate would infringe on their rights and local medical professionals who worry that if something is not done, the healthcare system could become overwhelmed. There was no vote on a mask ordinance last night. The city says the earliest one would be voted on is December 15th. COVID-19 has an impact on many industries and fields, including manufacturing. Candy House Gourmet, which makes all of its products in-house, has taken extra steps to ensure their workers and customers are safe during COVID. Officials say it's beneficial that they're a food manufacturer, as many of the current COVID safety protocols were already in place. However, what they don't have is an increased workforce, which they need for increased demand during the holidays. Federal program that had extended unemployment benefits for an extra 13 weeks in Kansas will stop next month, just as new COVID-19 restrictions could lead to more furloughs and layoffs. U.S. Department of Labor informed the state labor agency that the Kansas unemployment levels had fallen below the eligibility threshold for the extended benefits program. Last payments for Kansans on the program will be the week ending December 12th. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Rain's still hanging on in our northern counties and really a mist everywhere else. Going to be a little bit of a dreary Wednesday with mostly cloudy skies and temps steady in the 40s. Windy one as well, coming out of the southwest at 25 miles per hour. And it's worth the one-day wait because we're setting up for a perfect Thanksgiving for those of you that will have activities outside to make sure you're socially distanced. Temps up into the 60s, sunny skies, and wind is dying down just 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the south.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making classic mashed potatoes in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Morning news continues on KOAM. We've got the CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, we're joined by Zach Dodge. What do we have, Zach?
Well, we'll have how you can save some money this year on that big Thanksgiving feast. Join us over there.
And Zach's taste testing continues as well as our great crew continues to bring you additional favorite Thanksgiving recipes. That wraps it up for this edition. I want you to have a great, safe Wednesday. We'll see you again Thanksgiving morning right here.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.